I want to thank everybody for showing up today. I want to recognize that there are literally 1,000,001 political events tonight. And I'm really grateful that everybody's decided to spend their time here with UID. So thank you all. I think the first thing in order is to say happy Pride to anybody who we're proud to have a lot of members of the LGBTQIA+ community. March of Brooklyn Pride with us and Senator Andrew Bernardis. I bought this shirt of Pride from our friends at Starbucks Workers Union. It's be gay and organized. So for June, let's be gay and organized. We're gonna wrap it up for being gay and organized. So we're gonna have some events coming up that we'll be talking about after our forum. I put it on our candidates' time. Very grateful to speak with us today. Early voting is starting Saturday. So if you are a registered voter in the state of New York, please make sure to have a plan to go out and vote. We're going to go out for a weekend. The manager Grace is here to talk a little bit about that later. And to make sure we're pulling out the vote, get people to the polls. And make sure to vote for yourself because, as we will talk about tonight, there is a borough-wide judicial race. Borough-wide judicial races, unfortunately, all judicial races, unfortunately, get, in my opinion, criminally underreported. People do not talk about them as much as we should, and so we're really grateful today to be able to share with you all the candidates running and to let you hear and make your own decisions about who you might want to vote for the civil court races. So I want to first of all say that, as I mentioned the last time we met, we were honored in May as the New York State Young Democrats Chapter of the Year. The State Young Democrats have acknowledged our hard work to elect good Democrats down in Brooklyn and to make sure that we're protecting our Democrats in vulnerable parts of the borough. We have this nice little citation to prove it from State Assembly. You all soon some details about a very small dollar fundraiser that we'll be hosting in July to celebrate this great accomplishment that we all part of as Young Democrats. So I want to get us started right away. We will be hearing from the two candidates running for civil court judge borough-wide in Brooklyn. They are Haskin, who's going to go first, and Linda Wilson, who will be talking afterwards. We're going to give the candidates 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll have 15 minutes for questions and answers. We're going to have this presented by, I'm really excited to say this, we're going to have this whole minute presented by our Legal Policy Caucus Chair, Dennis Torian, and our Policy Caucus Chair, Madeline Knight. You are a lawyer and in your 3rd year of law school now? Yes. Hey, all right, hey, clap it up. Never a lack of lawyers in the Young Democrats event. Awesome. So Monet is going to be keeping time. You'll have 3 minutes to start, and then we're going to have a minute for asking the question, like 30 seconds for asking the question. Okay, so I'll actually let Dennis and Madeline come up and talk a little bit more about that. Go right ahead.
So, hey guys, how's everybody doing? Just to give a quick little introduction. I don't know if you've received this little city council primary guide in the mail from the Board of Elections. Sometimes the Board of Elections does send useful things in the mail. But see, if lawyer doesn't work out, I could do a little bit of stand-up comedy. Okay? Now, judge sounds like a general overall term, but there are different types of judge positions in New York. Some of them are appointed, some of them are elected. Okay, now if you pick up your city council primary guide in the mail, it says right here what the county civil court judge position entails. Okay, for example, they are up to 10-year terms. They hear civil matters up to $50,000. That's their small claims, landlord-tenant matters, and criminal prosecutions of misdemeanors. Okay, so just in case you guys didn't know this, all right, I think that in part of starting the legal policy caucus, I want more voters to be exposed to the judicial part of our system. We always hear about the more newsy parts of the politicians out there, but I think we need to pay more attention to our judges. Okay, and Adam, you got anything else to add?
No, I would just say, having now done 2 years of law school, I've learned how important the position of judge can be and the kinds of impact they can have on lives and communities. So I think, as we point, it's a really underrepresented position and therefore really underrepresented and undereducated race in terms of educating the public about what these roles entail, what the positions are. So I'm really excited and happy that we're doing this, and hopefully folks can learn a little bit more about our two candidates and make those more as possible.
All right, guys, so we're going to kick this off. Ms. Haskin, 3 minutes to introduce yourself to our audience. Give her
Good evening, BYD. My name is Turquoise Haskin, and it's my pleasure to be here as your candidate for Civil Court Judge, Kings County Countywide. I would like to thank Hunter, leadership, and membership for your great work in our community. It doesn't go unnoticed. Your energy, your work is engaging and infectious. Thank you for your service. I would like to begin by telling you a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Flatlands, Brooklyn. I'm a 4th-generation Brooklynite, and I've been an attorney for almost 16 years now. And I attended New York University Stern School of Business and Emory University School of Law. Over the last 14 and a half years, I've had the pleasure of serving the people of Brooklyn in the capacity of a court attorney in civil court and as a principal law clerk in Supreme Court. And during that time, I worked on thousands and thousands of cases that affect hardworking Brooklynites like ourselves, ranging from personal injury cases, medical malpractice, commercial landlord-tenant, breach of contract cases, insurance disputes, name change applications. So we've done a realm of things within the civil space. I sat down with parties and helped them resolve very challenging disputes during some of the most challenging chapters of their lives. I worked directly with my judge on over 350 jury trials. And I've also worked in a number of capacities within the court system, including as a special referee of uncontested matrimonial matters, where I have the authority to issue judgments of divorce. And I also served as a small claims arbitrator, where I sat on the bench in civil court, took testimony, and rendered a decision after trial. I look forward to bringing that breadth of experience to the bench to ensure fairness, justice, and equality for all. I would like to note that due to my breadth of experience and service, I was recently found highly qualified by the LGBT bar for my work and for the position of civil court judge. I was also found approved by the New York City Bar Association. In addition to my work in the court system space, I've had extensive experience in both the public and private sectors, including my work at the HPD, the largest municipal developer of affordable housing in our nation. I worked in a 421A tax incentive unit. I also had the pleasure of working at the New York State Attorney General's office in the Charities Bureau, and I was responsible for auditing the filings of charities to make sure that they were in compliance with financial guidelines to protect the assets of donors and beneficiaries. In addition, I have an array of community service that further supports and establishes my love for our community and the need to have people that are sensitive to the needs of our community on the bench. I worked on election protection campaigns where I sat in law firms on election day. I filled the calls from community members throughout the borough of Brooklyn and helped them to report any indiscretions that they saw happening at their respective poll sites. I also had the pleasure of working at immigration clinics at Brooklyn Borough Hall, where I help individuals become naturalized citizens. I've also worked in a variety. So just to reinforce, I have a breadth of experience that I know will be an asset to the bench, and it's so important that we continue to spur and increase the ability to have young people on the bench to serve with distinction.
So, questions now, and I think it's okay if we can start it off. You want to start off with the first question?
Yeah, I know you just spoke a little bit about your experience, but I'd love to hear more about what inspired you to run for judge and sort of what you see out of this position.
Yes, say that what really inspired me is my passion for the law. I believe that the law has the ability to dismantle injustices, and that's what I find so amazing about its power, but it's the ability to harness it in the proper fashion, fairly, justly, and equitably that makes all the difference. So I think that's what really drives me to want to be a judge, and also I truly love the work. I've been in the court system for 14 and a half years. I love the work I do. I love interacting with the attorneys, the litigants. I love being able to resolve very challenging disputes. I love research, writing, and analysis. For me, it's a calling. So I feel like this is my calling. I'm walking in my purpose, and this is what I'm meant to do.
All right. Who has questions? Everybody's deeply thinking. Yes, in the back.
You mentioned that you were about highly qualified by the LGBT Bar Association. I was wondering if you've been reviewed by any other bars and/or if you have any endorsements.
Yes, so I was found highly approved by the LGBT Bar Association. I was found approved by the New York City Bar Association. I was found qualified by the Judicial Committee of the Democratic Party. I have a multitude of endorsements, various assembly members, Assembly Member Brian Cunningham, Senator Kevin Parker, District Leader Savannah Purcell, just a whole array, Senator Roxanne Prasad, Assembly Member Nikki Lucas, an array of district leaders. So I have an array of support, which reinforces that I have the necessary experience, skills, and background to serve the law with excellence and with distinction.
I'll kick it off with the next question.
Sorry.
What differentiates you from your fellow candidate for this position? Why are you the choice?
Yes, I am your choice for civil court judge because I have direct experience working in civil court. I actually have direct experience serving as a court attorney for my judge from my inception in the court system in 2009 through 2015 before we got elevated to Supreme Court. My opponent cannot say that. So I have that direct experience working on decisions, resolving disputes, working in all facets of civil court, which includes small claims court, commercial landlord tenant, consumer debt disputes, no fault litigation. I have that direct experience. I know that I can raise to the bench and I can hit the court day one, knowing that I can sit on the bench with no training. In addition, I was found highly qualified by the LGBT bar. She was found qualified. And again, I think it's my breadth of experience, not only in the court system, but also my experience in private practice, my experience at the HPT and the Attorney General's office that makes me a well-rounded candidate. I'm not a one-trick pony. I can do it all.
Right. Is that a question?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Carlos. How are you doing? So you spoke about immigration, that you have done some work on immigration. Could you expand upon that experience?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to be involved in a naturalization clinic at the Brooklyn Borough Hall. They do it with several organizations in that space, including Dominicanos Unidos and other organizations. So I served as a volunteer on a number of occasions where I came to Borough Hall and they had individuals come in that had appointments, and I would walk them through the application and requirements needed in order for them to seek naturalization.
Thank you.
Yeah, no one else has questions. I know you spoke a little bit about work with HPD and obviously affordable housing and health justice, a big issue in New York. How would you work to tenants' rights in Brooklyn?
I think access to justice is essential. Oftentimes, litigants, especially closely litigants, they come to court, they have no understanding of what's happening procedurally. So it's my responsibility and it's incumbent upon me as a judge to give the litigant an understanding of what's happening through every stage of the proceeding. I think that's key. Also, there's a resource center in Civil Court 141 on the 4th floor, room 404. That's a resource to individuals to help them navigate a very challenging system. So that particular office has volunteer attorneys and they provide services where they give you resources that you can use in terms of getting representation, answering pleadings, how to commence an action. They provide that resource. I would always keep litigants abreast of all the resources available to them.
Cool.
If you were to be elected, do you have plans to potentially serve in one in other judicial capacities within the New York State judicial system? For example, serving in a different court within the system.
Sure. I would say that I have a special place for civil court because that's where I began, and that's essentially the people's court. So that's what I find so special about it, is because I was able to help and address many concerns of people that have no idea about how to navigate the court system. However, I'm currently in Supreme Court. Supreme Court needs a lot of help and assistance. It's the busiest court in our entire country. So we need the resources. We need judges that have the competency, that have the understanding on how to address those issues expeditiously, efficiently, and fairly. So I know there's a need there. So it would be my aspiration upon working and serving in civil court to eventually ascend to a Supreme Court judgeship and serve our community in a greater capacity.
Anybody else? I have a question. So as a clerk to a judge, how would you bring that experience with you if you were elected as a judge? And are there any first-hand experiences that you can share with us that can maybe that you can share with the group about what kind of judge you would be, if there's some kind of specific memory that you have that you can use as a crutch to kind of explain what kind of judge?
Yes. My judge has been a great inspiration for me. She's the one that gave me that entrance and that introduction to the court system. And I learned so much by way of her instruction, by way of observing her. So I definitely find her to be a strong mentor and someone that is very inspirational for me in terms of what I want to be as a judge. My judge, she prioritizes timeliness, being well prepared, being an efficient and effective writer and communicator. So I will definitely bring those things with me. And I understand the importance of having a strong team to surround the judge, because the judge is not an island. The judge needs support. And my judge considered us her A team. So it's myself, the assistant law clerk, the clerk in the courtroom, our court officer. Collectively, we are the A team. So I want to have that same environment, knowing that we have a strong team that's going to effectively address every matter before us, that gives prompt, effective, and respectful service to everyone that appears before the court. I look forward to doing that as a judge and having a strong law clerk, because you need someone that's intelligent, that's communicative, that's culturally confident, that's efficient, and I want to bring that level of respect and that level of dignity to the bench. In terms of a recent experience, we recently had two posted litigants, a husband and wife, that were in the risk of foreclosure. Their property was actually going to be auctioned the day that we received the order to show cause to stop the eviction. The judge reviewed the merits of the application and found that they should be given a chance. The auction should not take place. So the judge signed off on the application, but the auction was going to happen within the next 15 minutes. So we knew that we had to act quickly to stop it from happening. So myself and the assistant law clerk, we quickly went downstairs with the litigants. We went outside because auction happened outside of 360 Adams. We went to the steps of 360 Adams and we made sure that we found the referee who was going to hold the auction, as well as the clerk that was managing the calendar to make sure that that didn't transpire. So that was a way that we made sure that actions and justice was actually put into action. And that's what I aim to do to judge, to not only think theoretically, but actually put the law into action in order to ensure justice, fairness, and equality for all.
Yes. I have two questions, one super quick, one little one. First question, can you just tell further here, tell us who the judge report is?
Yes, Justice Carolyn Wade.
Carolyn,
Wade.
thank you. Second question is, if elected to match, how do you plan to help elevate some young folks who are interested in legal profession?
I feel like we're at a very crucial point in our governance throughout New York State. So many of the judges that I have respected and admired throughout the years either passed away or they're in the process of retiring due to the mandatory age retirement of 70. So I see that there's so many dynamics at play, and now is the time for us to be very intentional about identifying individuals that have the skills, that have the experience, that have the competency to ascend to the bench and lead that pipeline. So I'm aspiring to be that person, to be that pipeline, and to strengthen the pipeline to bring others with me. And I feel like we're the future, so we need to have those folks on the bench. And I look forward to being that pipeline for the Brooklyn community. I've had the pleasure of working with over 30 interns during the course of my career with my judge. We have seen them go from high school graduates to being my colleague. So it's been an honor to see that progression. One of my interns is now a Harvard Law School student. Actually, there were two that were Harvard Law School students. Many of them are working at firms, they're working at agencies, they're doing great work. So it's so inspiring to see that we planted a seed in them that has blossomed into a flower. So I look forward to continuing that work as a judge, having interns in my courtroom, having individuals come from schools, bringing your classmates, bringing your schools, and I want them to see and hear and see firsthand the work that we do. Because just one moment, just one experience in the court system can set a person's trajectory for the better. And then so know they could be a judge too.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
Anybody have a question? There.
There was a really interesting article in the city a few years ago about the trend of New York State judges like donating financially to the Brooklyn Democratic Party. I'm curious if you personally have ever donated to the Brooklyn Democratic Party or to Chair Michelle. Like campaign finance, like to give us a campaign.
I've attended the gala, and I know several of you have attended the gala as well, because we were all there together. So in that sense, yes, I have.
I don't think that was the question.
Are you sure?
I think we have time for one or two more questions. Okay. Sure.
Are there any reforms or changes that you would propose or like to see to make the court system more accessible and transparent?
When I was a small claims arbitrator at evening court, I found that to be beneficial because small claims court is congested with cases. So there's only so many cases that a judge could try in one evening. So the arbitrators had a very special service where they were able to volunteer the time, which I did, and that helped to alleviate that caseload. Unfortunately, once the pandemic hit, that ceased, and it still remains like that today in Kings County small claims court. So I would definitely want that to be implemented in order to turn the wheels of justice, because most people, they can't take off for day court. They need that time to go in the evening after work to have justice administered to them.
One more. That's okay.
And just to, I guess I'll finish this off. There's a lot of stigma attached to court. Even as an attorney, I see people who are pro se. I mean, they look at it as, even if they're coming to court with an application, they see a huge burden. They think that they're being attacked relentlessly, especially if you're coming from poverty. It doesn't matter to them if you're judged. Do you think that there's a strategy as a judge, if you're elected, to kind of remove those types of stigmas in your courtroom? Do you have any plan for that?
I would say that one way is for a judge to be very intentional in their interactions with the subject litigant. Many people come into court very fearful because they don't know what to expect and they're expecting the worst. So I think it's important for the judge to set an environment in the courtroom that's welcoming, that makes people want to come in. I want my room to be one where people freely seek legal redress without fear. It should be a place where you want to come, a place where you're seeking justice and you're promised that. So that's the way that I would approach it. I would be very patient in explaining things procedurally to a pro se litigant so that they understand what's happening with every phase of a proceeding. If they're seeking an attorney, I would give them the opportunity to retain counsel so that they can uphold their respective legal rights. That would be my.
Awesome. All right.
Put your hands
Thank
together.
you so